Heart First leadership isn't what you say, it's how you show up, how you regulate, how you communicate, and how you execute when it matters most. We are Heidi and Ryan Sawyer, and you are listening to the Heart First Leadership Podcast.
Welcome back to the Integrated Mindset Podcast. I am Ryan Sawyer with my wife, Heidi Sawyer, and we are going to talk about the victim and creator mindset triangle scale. So we have a few different ways we're going to talk about this. This is not a comfortable conversation. This is one that some may not want to hear. And so I'm just going to open it up right now and say, before we go into it, stay open, stay curious. And if something that we say causes a disturbance within you, that might be something to look at. So I'm just going to lay that out there. But before we get into that, I want to real quick take this opportunity to say that if you haven't already joined our IHP community, Integrated Human Performance Community, it is free to join. There's content in there, breathwork courses, and we're always having something new and different. We do, if you're local in Spokane, we'd have local meetups monthly, and we're just going to continue to add value in there. Plus, obviously, that's where all of our coursework is housed. Our Integrated Performance for Leaders program, our breath and meditation course, our connected communication course that Heidi runs. So yeah, go check it out. Grab the link, hop in, join the community, poke around, ask questions, and engage yourself. Just lean in and see what there is for you. So how are you doing, first of all, before I dive into my story? You doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I got a warm cup of coffee in my hand. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
And I just couldn't be better. I'm sitting here with one of my favorite people and
One of? What do you mean one of?
Yeah. Well, we have two kids too.
Oh yeah,
so
true. Okay. All right. I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you're number one and then also the kids.
I don't need to be ranked. I'm all good. So you have been fun to watch these last few days. You have really gained some clarity and been on fire. And it's like a dream come true for me to watch you step in. So we created a list of 4 or 5 topics here that we're going to dive into these next few weeks. We're on a rhythm now. We're going to be doing 2 podcasts a week through the end of the year is what we're committing to. So throwing that out there to hold us to that. We are just having so much fun doing this, finding value in it because of the conversations that we're having at home. And we just want to continue to add value to the audience. So that's where we are at. One of the things that popped up, one of the conversations that we popped up with was coming kind of from our last podcast of talking about this idea of being a victim versus a creator. So like I said, a few topics that we have coming up in the next few weeks are a bit uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable because they're going to potentially touch some stuff of some people. And they even expose some stuff within me that even right here, right now, as I begin to speak about this, I'm like, I'm going to have to take another layer, another level of responsibility because I'm putting this out there to the world, and this is why I love doing this, because it holds me so accountable. It's an insane amount of responsibility and accountability. So I love it. So here it is. We learn about this idea of what is it called exactly? The triangle.
So there's 2 different triangles, but this is from the book, The Power of TED, The Empowerment Dynamic by David Emerald. And what we're talking about when we're talking about the victim is we're talking about something he calls the dreaded drama triangle.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you're going to go into these a little bit more here once I kind of set the stage. Okay.
Sure.
And I don't know what you're going to talk about, but I'm excited to learn from you.
Me neither.
Because
I'm excited to see
you know this triangle thing better than I do. I use it a little bit, but I don't get into it as much as you do it in our coaching. So here's my story. I learned about this idea, and it's a very rude awakening to our existence and to our ego and to our life when we realize that we're playing the victim, right? And recently, a year ago, maybe, I noticed some victim type of mentalities in our children. Some woe is me and only ifs and yeah, buts coming out of their mouth, right? And if I was authentic and transparent, I would say when I see people in my environment being a victim, my loved ones especially, like I think that triggers me more than anything else. It causes more of a disturbance inside of me as of recent than anything else in my life, right?
And that shows up in the form of like blaming and complaining.
When
right?
they blame, when they complain, yeah, because I guard that pretty darn close to not complain. Like we even do this thing in our house when somebody says something, I'm like, is that a complaint or a request? Right. So to shift our orientation from victim to the creator mindset. So based upon what we know, based upon the fact that we understand that if something causes a disturbance within us, that means it lives within us, right? That there's still some sort of a victim orientation happening. So I recognize this happening, 2 or 3 different times within a fairly short window of a few months or something like that, where I got really quite irritated over, and I don't remember which kid it was, but one of them being kind of a victim, kind of woe is me. And then I was like, well, crap.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
because I'm like, well, that means that I'm somehow still playing the victim in my life. Now, I had already come to this place of realization that it was very clear to me that I had spent the majority of my life in some sort of a victim orientation in different areas. And I was over competitive and over striving and over aggressive and over this and over that to try to overcome that victim mentality. And we'll see how much of that comes out in this podcast today, but it's going to bleed out in multiple podcasts as we move forward, as we paint this picture. So then I started to really sit with it. Okay, so if I am being disturbed by somebody in my environment being the victim, that means that I'm somehow still playing the victim in my life. And if it's happening right here in this moment, that it's not just this moment that is a victim moment, but that means that I have been playing the victim up till this moment, because it's everything that we've experienced up until this moment that creates our experience of this moment.
Right. Yeah. You've created momentum in that direction. If you end up there, you've created momentum in that direction.
Life's against you. Life is happening to you. I can't fulfill my dreams. All the things, right? I've taken my circumstances in life and I've made them mean that they're against me. And I'm living that story that I can't have what I want. And I can't be who I want to be because of somebody or something outside of me. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then I started to watch my mind a little bit. I started to pay attention to some of the things in my decisions I was making within business, within life, within relationship. And I started to realize this is a sliding scale, right? Just like everything is a sliding scale. So let's look at it in a perspective of 1 to 10. I like numbers. I'm a numbers guy. 1 would be lethargic, victim orientation. The world's against me. Woe is me.
And why bother, right?
Why? But what's the point? What's the point? 10 would be I'm a creator. And I take full responsibility for my life, and everything in my life is the way it is because of my orientation to it. And I'm in my power, and whatever you help me with.
Let me just help with the definitions a little bit. Thank you. I think that in the book, they do an excellent job of defining these. So the victim, someone who's in a victim mindset in that orientation, thinks that they're powerless and at the mercy of life's circumstances, and they are unwilling to take responsibility for what happens in their life. If someone is on the opposite side of that scale, if they're in the creator orientation, they're focused on the vision and on the desired outcomes that they have. And they are taking full responsibility for their life, and they're initiating action to achieve those desired outcomes. Big difference.
I'm taking notes.
Okay.
And a willingness. Okay. Action, willingness, unwilling to take responsibility. Yeah. So I started to recognize like, oh, we're not just because I became aware of it, because I made conscious choice in my life that I'm going to take full responsibility for my life. And because I teach the people, because I wake up every day and I decide and I do the work and I, I'm very intentional and all these things, right? That like, I'm very visionary. I'm very forward thinking. I've trained my mind to be that way. Yeah. But I'm just like, but there's still these moments where I'm dipping.
Mm-hmm.
There's still these moments where I'm dipping. So then I started to look at the scale, like, where am I on that scale? Am I an 8? Right? Is an 8 a pretty good experience? Like, what is the experience of being a 5 on that scale between victim and creator? Right. And so I started to realize like, okay, well, I need to take a hard look at that. And we need to start to create ways that we are able to shift from victim to creator. And it starts with compassion. It starts with because you realize like that's part of what you were conditioned into, or because of how your attention was outwardly focused, and therefore the vehicle of happiness and the vehicle of being good enough and the vehicle of being worthy and lovable and adequate was somehow outside of you. And that's how we have been trained there. So it's a level of being able to train your mind to come back inward and not source my sense of being okay outside of myself.
Well, let's just talk about for a minute the next 2 roles within those 2 orientations, because I think that will help also illustrate what's going on oftentimes internally for us. Mm-hmm. So when we're looking at what they call the dreaded drama triangle, the victim orientation, the next role is the persecutor. So the persecutor thinks that they need to win at any cost, controls others through blame, criticism, and oppression. So when we are in the victim role, when we are in that orientation, we can also become the persecutor. Either someone or something is against me and now I lash out at that someone, or we can also, another dynamic is we can experience that within ourselves. So we can persecute ourselves. We can judge ourselves. We can be hard on ourselves. And on the other side of the scale, when we're in the creator orientation, we have the challenger. And that's what you're talking about, is challenging yourself, because the challenger sparks learning by challenging assumptions and the status quo. The challenger focuses on improvement and development by holding people accountable for taking action. So we can be either the persecutor or the challenger to others, but also within ourselves, within our own relationship to ourselves. We can decide, hey, I'm noticing that I'm being triggered or activated by this situation of someone appearing to be in a victim mentality. And we can continue to be in that mentality ourselves and persecute ourselves for what's going on, judge ourselves for it, or we can move into that other orientation and start to challenge that, like what you're talking about, going, now that's interesting. If I'm seeing that, then that's just the mirror being held up in my face, showing me, okay, this is activating within me because there's something here.
So it's just a point of inspection to be able to shift our orientation. So then we're able to learn and then challenge ourselves to grow in the next moment. So it's not a good or bad thing. It's legitimately like an opportunity as a mirror to put up in front of my face to realize, oh, I'm beating myself up. I'm persecuting myself. You know, it's interesting. I've known about this triangle for so long, and you just taught me something. I just made this correlation between self-judgment and being a persecutor. That's really quite interesting. The other one is to rescue too, right?
Yeah. So within the victim orientation, you have victim, which we've talked about, persecutor, and then rescuer. And a rescuer intervenes on the behalf of the victim to save them from perceived harm. And also the rescuer wants to foster dependency by relieving the victim from taking responsibility. So this is a situation where if I'm acting as the rescuer, I want to help you, but I want you to also acknowledge me for it and depend on me for that help. Yeah. So it's more doing it. It's not doing it from a selfless place. It's doing it from a place of, I get something from helping you also, which is my validation and self-worth.
Ooh, wow.
So on the other side of the coin, the creator orientation,
go
is
ahead.
the coach. And a coach empowers people through inquiry to gain clarity.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of telling them something, the coach asks questions.
Mm-hmm. Lets them come to their own.
And
answers.
they're not invested
Yeah.
in the person being rescued by them. They're not attached to the outcome because it doesn't mean anything about them. So if you're a coach, it doesn't mean anything about you, whether your client finds success or does the tools or whatever it is. You do your best with the best intentions to help them. But when you get attached to their outcomes, then you're in rescuer. Then you are in that victim orientation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give a male perspective for just a moment. This idea of being a rescuer. I'm not going to tell you what book I'm talking about, but there was a book that I read a long time ago, and I read it with a group of men. And at the time, I was like, wow, this is really powerful. But one of the things that he talked about in the book was that we all need a beauty to rescue.
Like a damsel in distress.
Yeah. And this is part of the human experience that we need this. We need adventure and we need a beauty to rescue. And
interesting.
So wouldn't it be this orientation if, as a man, I feel like I have to rescue a woman? Wouldn't that me be stuck in the victim triangle?
That means that you're sourcing your self-worth and meaning in your life
based upon their
dependency on you.
Their dependency on you. Ooh, sit with that for a moment. Okay, so
this is fun.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm legitimately getting coached right now. So people sometimes, and I've done this. I mean, this is me. Like, this is me coming to you with this topic, like legitimately 10 minutes ago, and I was like, "Hey, let's talk about this sliding scale of being a victim. You understand the victim triangle, and and so let's talk about this."
We were standing by the coffee pot getting into it, and we said, "Let's just go hit record."
Yeah, this is how we're doing things.
Okay, because then we're going to wish we would have recorded it. So.
Yeah, so let's just have the conversation. Yeah. Okay, so have you ever? I know I have served, given, right, and that act of service of helping somebody else and helping them feel better made you feel better, right? So the idea of like, oh, I just love to serve. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like this idea, yeah, sure, you love to serve, but is the service itself coming from a place of lack or abundance? Am I serving to feel better about myself? Like, is that service or is that being selfish? Right. And is that kind of being this victim orientation where, are you teaching somebody to fish or are you fishing for them? Right. You catch them, handing them fish so they can eat, or you're teaching them how to fish. Like that would be another like illustration of being from the victim triangle to the creator. Right.
Yeah. 100%. I was going to joke with you and say, no, I've never done that, but of course I have. Of course I've done that. Yeah.
Right. This becomes a very introspective journey of realizing. And again, here's what I'm saying is that you might have moments where you're a 10, where you're owning it. And you're in full responsibility. Right. I mean, I feel like I'm in that space right now because we're talking about it. Like I'm wearing it. Here I am. Like I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to coach myself, and I'm going to be a creator. Right. I'm going to take action. I'm going to take action because of what I've learned by how I've been challenged. And I'm going to then, use my resources to be creative and compassionate and engaged.
Yeah. So let's talk about some questions.
Okay.
Some questions that you can ask yourself to determine kind of where your focus is.
What you mean? Am I a victim, or am I in which triangle?
Which orientation are you
living in?
Sitting in at the moment, right?
Right. Now, and again, I think people need to understand, like, if this is, I'm trying to soften the edges around this conversation by saying it's a sliding scale. And to say, like, legitimately, I think if you guys have heard of the 80-20 rule, Like 80-20 is this rule with like nutrition. There's investment principles behind the 80-20 rule. Like 80-20 rule is some universal rule that it can show up in almost everything. I believe that even the decisions that we make, and Heidi and I are upon a fairly large decision with a couple of our, with our businesses, that it's going to create action and motion, but also risk and a potential reward. Right. And we were having this conversation, like what's right or wrong. I'm like, well, even if we make the most informed, most intuitive decision that we can possibly make, our best guess is probably about 80% right. Like we're never going to be 100% right. You just make the next right decision as well as you can. And then, right. So my point with that is like, again, it's that, are you ever 100% a creator? Because if you lived in 100% constantly in that empowered state, like, holy cow, would that be powerful? And that's kind of the goal, is to continuously grow to such a level where we continue to shift our orientation towards taking full responsibility, being able to challenge ourselves, challenge and coach ourselves. Like, again, you hear the word challenger or coach, I instantly think, or persecutor, rescuer, I instantly think outside of myself. But here, what we're talking about, integrated human performance, we take everything that's out there when we are projecting out, and our attention is going out, for us to like flip it back around and say, okay, first, before I can coach others, before I can challenge others, right, I need to be able to do that for myself. And so to understand that it's somewhere on this scale, somewhere on this scale. And so you're not just in one triangle completely or the other. And maybe you are completely stuck in a victim triangle, but the goal
there's been times in my life where I definitely was there. I was definitely there for a long sustained period of time, because a life circumstance happened and all of a sudden, you can't hurt me. Right. Because I'm have a brick wall all the way around. Like,
we could go into story after story. Of how we've played the victim. Right.
Right.
And we still occasionally do, why doesn't this person do that? I mean,
for sure.
It's constant.
So it's all about where you're putting your focus. When you're in that end of the scale, the victim end of the scale, you're focused on the problem.
Okay.
Right. When you are on the other side of the scale, you're focused on the outcome that you actually, your desired outcome. It's hard to get there from here. If you are all wrapped up in the problem, it's hard to get to the desired outcome from there. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, it's like trying to live in the world of effect rather than the world of cause. We talked about cause and effect before, universal principle. At some point, we'll do a series on all the different universal principles, and we'll engage in that conversation on how they relate to our daily life, because it's incredibly empowering, and it helps you to shift your orientation towards that creator model when you begin to understand how the universe is governed through God's laws. But a lot of times we live our life kind of playing defense. I've talked about this in other podcasts before, where we're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle outside of us together so we can have a moment of feeling okay, right? We are in the world of effect, where we're solving problems that have already been created rather than going back to the source of, hey, what created this problem to begin with? So I know that I'm going to start to move the momentum in my life into a creator orientation, to where I'm not creating unnecessary obstacle or suffering, because I'm dealing in the root of cause rather than so like problem and outcome is the same as working in like cause and effect. It's like treating the symptoms of a disease rather than getting to the root cause, right? Taking blood pressure medication rather than, saying, okay, why is my blood pressure high? And
and there may be some reason, right?
And somewhere in the middle. Maybe it's smart to take the medication. Western medicine is good, but like, how about we start living in a way that brings my blood pressure down, and I don't need the medication anymore, right? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about with cause and effect. And that's kind of being either victim orientation or creator orientation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one is anxiety based and problem focused.
Okay.
And the other one is passion based and outcome focused. One is all about no choice, and the other is all about choice.
Yep.
One is all about reacting, and the other is all about creating.
Responding or creating, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. One is about feeling hopeless and helpless and not enough. And the other is about feeling hopeful and energized and inspired and resilient.
And it's not always we're not talking about negative, or what's it called? Toxic positivity. We're not talking about just, just stay positive. We're talking about just taking responsibility, because a lot of times the gift or the lesson that we are deriving from being challenged is not necessarily comfortable, right? It's not just like, hey, we got this, it's moving, but it's stepping into that orientation.
We are all leaders. If you're ready to stop waiting and start impacting your environment in a powerful way, we want to connect with you. Click the Book Now link in the show notes to book a call with a Heart First coach and discover what Heart First leadership can look like in your life and in your environment. Now back to the show.
Yeah, it's having choice despite your circumstances, realizing that you have choice and that you can continue to be dedicated towards your growth.
And you have a choice on how you respond to it, what you make it mean, right? You might not have a choice in all the circumstances that we're living in, right?
Right.
But we have a choice on how we respond.
And I think when you understand this, it gives you a lot of compassion. It gives you a lot of compassion for other people, because, just the other day, our daughter and I were in Costco, and a woman was really upset with her kid. And she says, I will drag you across the store. It was like, she was really angry. And Haley's like, what is going on? My daughter's like, what's going on with this woman? And I said, you know what? You just never know what somebody else is going through and where their perspective is. And we had a long conversation on the way back about the difference between reacting and responding. Right. And so she was in a reaction, and that's of course not how she wants to treat her child.
Yeah, it's not necessarily your fault if you have somehow been in a world or an environment where your orientation has been trained or your attention has been so outwardly focused that you legitimately are conditioned into a victim mentality. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying it's a realization that for you to take the responsibility to shift your orientation towards taking responsibility, so you can condition yourself to be able to create the outcomes that you do want, to be able to create choice and action, and to respond. Because like to react to something is legitimately a reenactment of a way that you have responded, or you have, dealt with a circumstance in the past.
Right.
And so it's conditioned, it's habitual, and you're not choosing it.
Yeah. So let's talk about responsibility. If you break that word up, like you just did with reaction to react, responsibility is your ability to respond.
Yeah.
So it's actually taking it into your own control.
Yeah. So, if you were to tell somebody that you live if I were just to tell you, you live X amount of time in your life in the victim orientation, like a lot of people would be like, they would want to say something back to me that's not so pleasant. Yeah. What do you think about this thought that I just came with? Somebody who's kind of lived one of those lives where, they've had a good job, they're pretty smart, their marriage is solid, the kids are healthy, like nothing's ever really ruffled their feathers enough to like get in action. They have a good, they're not like, they're not trying to create something extra, right? They're just they're comfortable, they're good people. There's nothing wrong with that comfortable life, but they're probably sitting somewhere on the scale between 1 to 10 in the victim orientation. They're probably somewhere about a 5. And they're just kind of comfortable. And they'd want things to be different, but they're okay. Maybe they're a 5, maybe they're 6. And all I'm alluding to is that if someone, like, wouldn't that potentially wake somebody up to say, well, that means a half of my time, or even 40% of my time, even 30% of my time, I am just at the mercy
of what's happening outside of you,
of what's happening outside of me.
Mm-hmm.
If I sit with that, because that's what happened to me when I learned, this is one of the things that I learned on our journey out of all the millions of things that we've come across and studied and practiced and integrated. This is just one tiny component that I was like, ooh, I'm not okay with that. Because even today, if I said I'm an 8, like, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty high on the scale. But it still says that 20% of the time, I find a way to say, well, only if someone so would, and why wouldn't this, and why didn't they that, and right, rather than just being like, taking that and flipping it into challenging myself, learning from it, growing from it, and taking action to make positive impact in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we want for our kids. That's what we want for our employees. We want them to see things from that creator perspective, like, oh, wow, anything's possible. Of course we can. Of course we can. But that starts with us being able to move. We can't be in that orientation of being problem focused and anxiety based all the time and expect for the people that we lead to not be.
Well, yeah,
it doesn't work that way.
Well, and the reality is this. This is the cause and effect reality. If you are in a victim orientation, you're going to continue to create undesirable outcomes, and you're going to continue then to reaffirm that the world's against you. You're going to say, "See, I told you so." Yep. See, but I can't, because, like, it is legitimately something that you continue to choose. Like, if you're not changing it, you're choosing it.
Mm-hmm. I think about the persecutor role within this, right? The characteristics, the way that this shows up is defensiveness and guardedness and lashing out and being self-righteous and all these things. Of course, that's going to create more situations in our life if we're operating from that origin, if we're operating from this place of being defensive and lashing out and kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, essentially. Of course, we're going to find ourselves back in this powerless position, because we're not, it's fear-based. We're not taking responsibility. We're not saying, okay, yeah, if something shows up, that's an opportunity for self-awareness. That's an opportunity for me to empower myself to take a look at how I can be more confident, how I can be more direct, and how I can be more clear in my life and my relationships.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful.
Yeah. And I think that I really want to drive this point home. I think I've said it a couple of times, but I'm not sure if I said it clear enough, is that all it is a point of inspection. Mm-hmm. All it is an opportunity for you to shift. Like, we're never going to fully live. Maybe it's possible, but I don't believe any of us are so awakened and so enlightened and so, like, guarding our focus to such a level that we're always a 10 on that scale of 1 to 10. Like, I would love to think that I could live at stay at an 8 or a 9 or even a 9.5 or whatever, right? But it's a point of inspection, which just means go, look at that. Oh, I'm kind of acting right now as the world's against me, right? I'm kind of acting like if that person would change, and then I would be okay, right? And I'm allowing for my sense of being okay to be in something outside of me. Well, I'm going to show myself compassion. I'm going to ask myself a powerful question. I'm going to shift my state. I'm going to learn what I need to learn, and I'm going to take action. And I'm going to be a creator. And this is a moment by moment practice. moment by moment, day by day, week by week, and you begin to become more oriented from the creator role. From the creator orientation, I should say.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying about asking yourself a powerful question, because that is coaching yourself.
Yeah.
That is coaching yourself, just as simple as asking yourself, what am I focused on right now? You know, you notice the negativity creeping in, or this feeling of, gosh, I'm just so mad at this person, or I'm so upset with this situation, or whatever. And then it's like, what am I focused on right now? Yeah. Am I focused on the problem? And there's times to solve a problem. I'm not saying you're going to do the toxic positivity thing and just everything's rainbows and butterflies, but am I so focused on the problem that I'm not able to see a solution, and that I'm creating more problems for myself? And if that's the case, what is the outcome that I want to create? What would be, in this situation, the best case scenario?
Best possible outcome that we
right.
teach.
Yeah, because the circumstance is not going to change. It is what it is in that moment, but it's your responsibility to decide how you're going to be with that going forward.
So here is my way of doing that.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Yeah. How is this for me?
How is it for me? What am I focused on, and how's the situation for me?
So I love that you say, what am I focused on? Like, legitimately, we have this beam of awareness in our attention because of the amount of information input that we take from our world, screens, TV, social media, whatever else, competition, sports, all of these things draw our attention outside of ourselves. And now we're always needing approval and acknowledgement. Am I okay? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? And it's always outside.
Am I safe? Am I not safe?
Am I safe? Am I not safe? It's all based in psychological safety, and it's all based in social rejection. And we legitimately are training our minds to be outwardly focused. And that creates a decreased sense of self, which allows for negativity to creep in, because legitimately we're not taking control. So and I'm not going to go into all the brain science, but the idea of being outwardly focused creates a narrowed perception where we have less possibilities of how we're going to actually meet our needs and be okay. But the shift of orientation from being outwardly focused to inwardly focused by asking yourself a powerful question like, how is this for me, allows for your mind to communicate your brain to communicate. Legitimately, your prefrontal cortex comes online, which is this control tower that allows for the rest of your brain to communicate and to find different solutions and open yourself up and to select other possibilities of saying, oh, there's other ways that I can feel good enough, worthy, adequate, lovable. There's other ways I can meet my needs and feel okay.
This is the part of the brain that differentiates humans from animals.
Yeah. So parts,
right.
And
it's the problem solving,
critical
thinking.
To go to sleep. Right.
Creativity.
It's creative. It's collaborative. And we have to model that. Okay. We as leaders, as parents, have to model a healthy prefrontal cortex, the ability to pause and to respond, the ability to be creative and collaborative, the ability to be online. It takes the ability to regulate. That's where it all starts. Like we could point this whole conversation back to breath work, in my personal opinion, and back to the nervous system. Because legitimately, you could put the nervous system on the same scale of 1 to 10 between parasympathetic 100%. And sympathetic, lethargic and overstimulated, right? And where are you on that scale? But being able to manipulate that through breath, through mindfulness, through all these different things.
We have something in our house that I want to share. I want to share this with everyone listening, which is this saying that we say with the kids, and I say it to myself internally all the time: pause, breathe, respond.
Yeah. Well, that's where the Bada came from too.
Yeah.
So Bada is something I am creating with Colton and what we do with it later, I don't know. But Bada stands for BADA, which is breath, attention. And attention is like a question that says, where is my attention?
Mm-hmm. Or what we just talked about here, similar to that other question, what am I focused on? But you're saying, where is my attention?
Where's my attention? Because it's somewhere. The question is, do you know where? Right?
Right. Are you aware?
Are you aware of where it is? Right? Because your attention is always somewhere. Your beam of awareness is always somewhere. Right?
Right.
So breath, attention, like, oh, okay, it's out there, bring it in here. Right? Take full responsibility. How is this for me? Decide how I'm going to respond and then act. Like, man, I'm actually loving that Bada thing even more after this conversation. And so when we are doing something hard, we're mentally training, like I'll say to him, like, Bada, Bada, Bada. And that forces him to go, okay, connect to my breath. Where's my attention? Decide, act.
Right.
Right. So to have compassion for ourselves, to realize it's just a point of inspection, to realize that we're somewhere on that scale, and it's not to just be one or the other, but to consciously be intentional with our life in such a way that we are shifting our orientation from feeling like the world's against me to figure out how is it for me so I can receive the gift, so I can learn the lesson, and therefore I can take authentic action and structured, constructive action towards an outcome that is desirable, that's going to make an impact. And I don't think I finished my point here a moment ago. So I'm sorry I'm going on one of my rants, but we have to model it. We have to show them. This is where don't tell them, show them comes from, because working with our neuropsychologist, I was really on this kick of wanting to help youth. And she goes, the problem with that is that their prefrontal cortex is not online enough to do what you're asking them to do. It has to be modeled.
Right.
And in that conversation months ago, as we're writing the program, I realized, okay, well, if I want to impact youth, the answer is to impact the environment. And the answer is on you, me, and every other parent out there who wants more for their kid to train, to be able to learn how to train their mind just enough to be able to be online. So they're not just reacting out of a habitual condition pattern, but they're actually taking full responsibility, and they're shifting their orientation from victim to creator. And therefore their kids will then begin to learn, and because that's how we learn, is through observing, right?
How would you teach your kid to ride a bike if you didn't know, if you never learned? You know what I'm saying?
It's like anything. I tell people, okay, tennis is a great one. Right? If you've never seen a tennis racket, you've never seen a tennis court, you've never seen a tennis ball, you've never seen anybody swing a tennis racket, and you handed that to somebody, they would look at it and be like, what is this? They'd probably hit it on a rock or something, right? They'd be like, bang it against their head or something, right? I mean, they wouldn't know, like, oh, no, you pull it back and you follow through. Like,
what does that mean? Right.
That's how we learn, is by observing. So
we just watched a nature show the other day, and we were watching, I don't know, it was like condors or something. What was that? Some cliff dwelling bird where the babies were on the cliff. Yeah. And the baby had these huge wings and was trying to kind of figure out how things worked. But really it had to be modeled. This bird had to see the parent flying.
Yep.
They had to keep seeing how it was done until they were able to do it.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So my ask, my plea, my challenge is, don't tell them, show them. Yeah, is that every one of us, me included, you included, can continue to learn and understand the human experience, how to train our minds to shift our orientation, because all of us are on that scale somewhere. And so if you're a 6, you can go to a 7. And if you're a 7, you can go to an 8. And if you're living at an 8, you can go to a 9. And if you're a 9, you can work to a 10. And like, it's just, that's the work, because it's going to be modeled, and that's what's going to impact your children's mindset. That's going to impact their mental and emotional well-being. That's what's going to impact, rather than blaming social media and this and that. And, I mean, all these things, I hear it all the time. Well, okay, well, are you on it yourself? Like, I mean, It's all the different components of it and taking full responsibility so we can shift from one orientation to the other and impact our environments.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Any takeaways from today? I have 1,000, but I don't want to hear one from you.
Yeah. I mean, a takeaway for me is just that it's always a moment by moment practice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a practice in self-compassion, and it's a practice in recognizing that we're human and that we are not perfect, and we're going to fall from grace. We're going to, from time to time, find ourselves in that place where we're blaming, or we're blaming, complaining, we're playing the victim. And it doesn't mean that we need to judge or persecute ourselves for it. It just means that it's an opportunity to have that point of inspection, to look at, okay, what am I focused on? And how do I want to choose to respond that's in alignment with the outcome that I want?
Yeah. So where's my focus? And then how is it for me?
Mm-hmm.
That's my actionable steps. My biggest takeaway is, even in this conversation, I connected dots that weren't previously connected, which this is exactly why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Is because it allows for us to continue to have incredible conversation between the two of us that is of value for our own lives. Hopefully it's value for other people's lives, and that we don't know in our experience of ourselves in the world is based upon our knowledge and our ability to integrate that knowledge into experience. And so I now have information that I want to take and formulate thoughts around and create some information around for me to take a greater level of responsibility for my own life, to be able to create a better environment for my loved ones, for my family, for my teams, for my community. Right. And like, that's the point, is that this level of humility. Humble doesn't mean like to hide. It means that I'm always going to acknowledge that there's more to learn.
Beautiful.
And that's what we're here doing.
Yeah.
Exploring and being like, oh, look at that. Right? I just learned something new. And so actionable steps is to begin to just, maybe you set a clock or a little reminder on your phone where you just like, where's my attention right now?
Like a little reminder with that question popping up. Yes. I love that.
How is this moment for me? Because it might pop up in a moment of victim orientation.
Yeah. You might have just got some bad news and that pops up, and it's like, okay, all right.
And so then you're able then to shift your orientation. You're able to derive the gift. You're able to learn and grow from it. And you're able to transcend and evolve from it. And then you're able to model that for your environment. Because isn't that how you want your kids to handle circumstances and obstacles and challenges?
Heck yeah. Yeah, of course.
I want them to say, bring it on. Right?
Yeah, bring it on, because it's only going to make me stronger, because I'm only going to rise to the occasion, because I'm only going to get better.
Let me give you a real quick example. When I heard the news, a friend of mine called me about the IRS hiring 87,000 agents, right? Oh no, they're going to come after small business owners just like you and me. And I'm like, I got nothing to hide. Bring it on. I don't care. I'm not going to give that a moment of attention. Right. So that could create all kinds of fear and all kinds of, and angst, and people might even lose sleep over it. And this is BS and whatever. If they want to, without even going into the conversation that it's probably physically impossible for them to hire 87,000 agents and actually train them. Right. That's the actual facts of the matter. But in reality, it's my response to the news. That's it. Whatever. So it makes us more dialed. If we're worried about being audited, then get more organized.
Yeah. There's an opportunity. There's a way that it's for you, right? So, okay. Financial awareness. Let's have better financial awareness.
So we're going to be more process oriented, and we're actually going to find ways that we're letting money leak out of our company. And because of that moment of going like, oh, geez, we better be on top of our stuff, we actually become more profitable. I just made that news for me. Look at that. See how that works?
Let's go. That's what they call making shifts happen.
Making shifts happen. I thought you said shit. Which makes shit happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get we're going to lose our clean rating. No, I'm just kidding.
A couple of those it's not going to hurt anything. Okay. Awesome. Well,
thanks for the great conversation. I hope you guys found value in it. I hope that you got some good takeaways and that this sparks some curiosity for you. Maybe gets you thinking. And that's really what we want to do, is provoke some new thought and create opportunities for us to learn, and hopefully for you to learn right along with us. So we thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
And real quick, I'm going to finish where I started. Is if something we said disturbed you, just go, look at that. It might be for you.
Thank you for listening. Remember, leaders go first, alignment matters, and the environment that you create is the legacy you'll leave. We'll see you on the next episode.